The Word of God is not rocket science. It's faith. And the enemy uses people trying to treat the Christian life like rocket science instead of faith to keep them from entering into and living out all that God has for them. Let me explain. So, rocket science, obviously, it's like a really intense type of science. Like there's mathematical equations and this formula points to that formula and all this other type of stuff, right? But when it comes to a life with God, it's not a set of formulas. As much as you would love to be like, oh, just give me 3 steps to live the perfect Christian life and see all the things that I want to have in my life be manifested. That's not how it works, because the truth is, one, we serve a relational God. And listen, people like to scream relationship over religion until what God is asking you to do in your relationship with him conflicts with something your friend is able to do, but you can't do it and you wanted to do it. And now you like, well, where's the religion at? Why can they do it and I can't? Because it's a relationship. And there are going to be things God has you do or has you not to do that other people around you maybe can do, because that's how it works. But even with that, like I said, you may be thinking, oh, I want 3 steps to the perfect life, and the equation, if you will, that God would use to create your life, to bring into your life all the desires and dreams that you have, is not the same equation he may use for someone else. And so instead of looking at the Christian faith as a science, that's like if you do A, B, C, then you will end up with X, Y, Z. No, you just have to trust God. But the enemy trips a lot of people up because they just hear, do these 3 steps, do these 5 things, do these 4 things, and they just try to go and do those things and get those exact same results. And then they get discouraged when their life doesn't look a certain way or things don't turn out the exact way that it turned out for that other person, when it's like, no, there are principles that are clearly written in the Word of God that you should adhere to, live your life by. But a major part of the walk with God is allowing him to talk to you about what he wants you to do. And so I was just like, man, I think one of the reasons that people are getting really tripped up is because they're trying to treat something like a science that's not a science at all. It's faith. And that's why God can even do things that literally make no sense to bring success into your life, because part of what faith is not being mindless and irrational, but it's trusting and having faith in the words that God gives you. And I would say a lot of people even get tripped up there because they're like, oh, I had faith that I would be a millionaire by next year, but God didn't say anything to you about that. Putting faith in your random thoughts is not the same as putting faith in God. And the truth is, God is only accountable to the words that he gives. He's not accountable to bringing to pass your random thoughts, because the truth is also God knows the best plan for our lives, and he knows the moment that things should happen, that things should occur. And so I think even then the enemy will use, again, as a tactic to discourage you, like, oh, you prayed for, you to be married by the end of next year and that, or last year, whatever, and that didn't happen. God's not faithful. He's not going to do what he said. But that's not true. Did God give you that word? Because if God didn't give you that word, then you gave you that word. And if you gave you that word, or, some other random person that was speaking not on the behalf of God, but literally just saying things, if that word didn't actually come from God, God may know why. God does know why. He's like, no, I didn't bring that spouse into your life yet because I'm working on these things through you. And the truth is, if I brought you that spouse right now, y'all end up divorced in less than a year because you have not worked on these things inside of you yet. And I'm a big proponent of not, bashing the single people. It's not always that God is trying to fix your life. Like, there could be absolutely nothing wrong with you. There are a lot of people that are currently married that have a lot of fixing going on. I say that marriage is literally like the eternal growth process. So I'm not saying you're single because you need to fix a bunch of things in your life. What I am saying is, it could be the job that you're praying for, that you're like, oh, well, I want to have this job. And God's like, I didn't say you were going to have that specific job at that specific place, because he knows that there could be things that could be damaging to your relationship with him if you take that job. Maybe they're gonna have you working so much you no longer have time for God. Maybe, that company is going to close down, and God knows that. He's like, I don't want you to be in financial instability. And so there are things that God knows that are so beyond us. And faith is trusting God with our process, trusting God with our lives, trusting that even though there is not an exact ABC 1, 2, 3 formula for all the things that we want to see happening in our lives, there is a God that has looked into all of eternity and has our best interest at heart. It's not just a God that has your best interest at heart for today or for this month. He has looked into the eternity of all things, looked at your entire life and said, you may not understand it today, but I promise this is what is best for you tomorrow. And so you have to stop treating life with God like a science, like a rocket science, looking for the formula, looking for the equations, looking for, you wouldn't call it religion, but when you're looking for all these equations, formulas, and things like that, what you're actually searching for is religion. When you're like, if you can't give me 3 steps, 4 steps, 10 steps, an exact step process to be able to get to name that thing that's on your vision board, prayer list, whatever it is you wrote out, like, if you're not okay with it being outside of some steps or formulas, you're really saying, you know what? I prefer religion because I really prefer to just have this step-by-step process. And what God is saying is he will not be locked down by religion. He's going to do it the way he want to do it, how he want to do it. And the truth is, he will break all sense of rationality. He will even break natural laws when he needs to get it done. And, there's reference for that when he stopped the sun in the sky. He was like, you know what? I'm trying to get something done. I'm going to stop the whole laws of nature to make this happen. And so faith is trusting that God is going to do whatever it takes, whenever it takes, however it takes to get done what he said he was going to get done in your life. And the good thing about that is the only thing he can't do to get it done is violate who he is. God is a good God. He's not going to lie because God cannot lie. Like, the things that he wouldn't do to get it done are the things that you wouldn't want him to do to be trying to get it done. Like, because it violates who he is. And so, I wanted to say, part of the hang up and part of the discouragement and the troubling place that a lot of people find themselves in is when they feel like they've been doing the word for a long time, but they're not seeing a representation, or they're not seeing the outcome that they believe they should be seeing. And you're only getting frustrated because you have a thought in your mind about, if I did X, Y, and Z, like this message said, I will see this. Don't be disappointed.